welcome to my 35th weekly live stream. I appreciate you tuning in today. If you appreciate my music, and if you appreciate me, I hope that you'll throw something into those tip jars. Thank you. My prize, I took first place. The poor runner-up, a sad look on her face. I didn't drink the champagne, left my ribbon there too. Okay, so I won, but what good did it do? Okay, so I won. What good did it do? I stood with conviction, I put up a fight for the truth as I saw it, for peace, love, and light. I fought off the darkness for the first round or two. I got my licks in, but what good did it do? I got my licks in. What good did it do? In the end, I was right. On further review, all those things I was saying proved to be true. I got an admission, an apology too. In the end, I was right. What good did it do? In the end, I was right. What good did it do? Tried to live by my morals, I spoke my mind. Some friends got offended, one or two, they resigned. I was just being honest, and they already knew. Tried to remind them, but what good did it do? I tried to remind them, what good did it do? And I could hold a grudge, I could probably hold two. If I didn't learn to budge, could end up holding quite a few. I didn't like being angry, not enough being right. I'd rather be happy. That's a hard enough fight. I'd rather be happy with all of my might than to sit here and stew. What good would it do to sit here and stew? What good would it do? I'd rather be happy, happy with you. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you've all had a great week since the last time we got together. I'm going to go into a baseball song right now. This song was inspired by this. A baseball that sold for over $3 million. Record-breaking home run baseball. When I was a kid, such a baseball would have been thought of as an incredible souvenir that you would hang on to for your whole life and pass it down to your kid. When that baseball sold for that much money, I was moved to write this song. Flashballs were going off approached the plate. They had to replace the balls with ones they could authenticate. Well, everyone knew it was gone. One swing was all it took. The batter stood and admired it. The pitcher didn't even look. And now the guy who came up with the ball, the one on the bottom of the pile, he was missing a couple of teeth from his $1 million smile. He was sporting 2 black eyes. He was missing most of an ear. His shirt was torn and tattered, and his hair was soaked with beer. Going, going, gone. That ought to make a nice souvenir. We can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out here. Security let him away. They pretty well saved his skin. There was a doctor in the house, put some stitches in his chin. Well, now the ball would pass the test under ultraviolet light. There was the asterisk. That was the ball, all right. And now the guy who came up with the ball, he was famous for 3 or 4 days. Everyone wanted a piece of him. Everyone knew his face. Letterman wanted him on. And so did Oprah and Conan O'Brien. The White House receptionist phoned to say that the president was on the line. Going, going, gone. It ought to make a nice souvenir. We can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out here. The guy came up with the ball. He heard from the IRS. They wanted their $500,000, not 1 penny less. Going once, going twice. Sold, said the auctioneer. But who can really say what it's worth? Except maybe the price of an ear. And now the guy who acquired the ball, he could not tell you which was which. A fastball from a changeup. No, he was just filthy rich. His boy took it to school. His boy won show and tell. But the son of the guy who came up with the ball wished his dad didn't have to sell. Going, going, gone. Should have made a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye. That ball is out here. Going, going, gone. It should have made a nice souvenir. You can kiss that baby goodbye. If you're watching on Facebook and you would like to follow me on Facebook so that you get a notification every time I go live, all you need to do is click on that little bell-shaped icon where that arrow is pointing, and you'll get a couple of options on how you might want to follow me. I want to sing this song for a couple of folks from Oklahoma. Justin, if you're watching today, this is for you. And this is for our old friend Aaron, who's no longer with us. they desired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. They auctioned off the sunsets, the beaches and the waves, the mountaintops and forests were sweetheart deals they gave. To themselves and all their buddies went the jewels of the empire. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. They owned the TV stations, the radio and print. They controlled what people knew and what the people didn't. They packed the boards and ministries, turned up the amplifier. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. They preyed on people's goodness, upon their trusting hearts. They dismantled progress and then sold it off for parts. They spoke the kind of double talk Goebbels would have admired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. Toll races, they made the people scared, and all the while from trumpets patriotic music blared. Oh, it could never happen here, says the Holocaust denier. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. They sometimes mention Jesus, sometimes Thomas Paine. This is the age of treason, with champagne. But behind the Iron Curtain, it's all been secretly rewired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. And Old Glory, she still flies above the courthouse and the dome. The Super Bowl still happens just like it did in Rome. Their ads appear on everything like the flags of an occupier. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. And not many people saw it, and the rest they won't believe. They look at you like you're crazy, like it's you who's been deceived. They're bullying the angels for not singing with the choir. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot was fired. Not a single shot. Let's go to Ireland. Back in the 1840s, during the famine, the horrible famine, a 3-year-old boy was thought to be dead. His name was Tom Guerin, and he was buried in a mass grave. And this was just outside a little town called Skibbereen in the west part of County Cork. And a couple of days later, the gravediggers were trying to make room to bury more people, and they plunged their shovels into the dirt, and they struck Tom Guerin's legs, and they heard him cry out, and they realized somebody in there was alive. And they managed to save Tom Guerin. He grew up to become quite a character, very beloved in those parts. He became a bard, and I want to show you a few pictures here. This is the mass grave at Abbey Strowry Cemetery outside of Skibbereen, and close to 10,000 people were buried in that section right there that you can see. This is from the Skibbereen Heritage Center, and they have a whole display there about Tom Guerin. And if you ever are
In the west part of Ireland, in County Cork, the west part of County Cork, the Skibbereen Heritage Centre is a must visit. It is an absolute must. It's one of the absolute best places you could visit in all of Ireland. And if you're there, say hi to Terry Kearney and to Philip, the folks that run it. They're experts in their field. They're wonderful people. So, Tom Guerin, as a bard, used to travel around on foot all over west part of County Cork, and the bard's role in those days was to compose poetry with the news of the day, much like troubadours do with songs. And all he ever wanted for this was a new pair of shoes, which they called brogues. He petitioned the county council for a new pair of shoes. It took 20 years. He finally got them. So I named this song New Shoes for Tom Guerin.
I write 33 verses for one pair of shoes. I wander the countryside spreading the news. I travel Rosscarbery and all of West Cork. Well, some head to Boston and others New York. I lived in the poorhouse, I slept on the floor. There was room to sit down, but not an inch more. The people who died were carried away without ceremony and without delay. Starvation was sweeping the land. On my little shoulder it lay its cold hand. My mother, she begged for a coffin for me. They all thought I died when I was only 3. But the gravedigger's shovel plunged in the dirt struck me so hard it must have hurt. Though some say I moaned, some say I screamed, all agreed I wasn't as dead as I seemed. Now I roam all the world, admire each scene. I've never been. I only appeal to you now for a pair of brogues, and I'll vanish again into air. Not so many people get lowered down twice. I don't recommend it, just once should suffice. I'm a boy who was buried and dug up alive. The poet, the genius, the one who survived. I rose from the dead in the year 48, when a grave at the abbey had been near my fate. Since then, for subsistence, I've done all my best. The one shoe points eastward and the other points west. Roam all the world, admire each scene. Tax on the ratepayers, I've never been. I only appeal to you now for a pair of brogues, and I'll vanish again in the air. Yes, I only appeal to you now for a pair of brogues, and I'll vanish again into air.
If you're interested in picking up any of my recordings, you can do so. You can get the CDs themselves from me directly at chuckbrodsky.com. I'm happy to autograph them for you, or hey, I'll even do a hand drawing on crayon. If you're interested in digital downloads, you can go to bandcamp.com and you can pay any amount that you choose for my recordings. Once again, I'm relying on your tips to survive. And if you enjoy me and my music, I hope that you will consider putting something into those tip jars. I'm going to shock you here, but last week's show had over 750 viewers, and only 6 of them put anything in the tip jar. And I can't survive from that, so I'm appealing to you that if my music is of any value to you, even putting $1 into that tip jar will add up and keep me doing this. one of the most unusual people to ever play Major League Baseball. Possibly the single most incredible person to ever play Major League Baseball. It was a man by the name of Moe Berg. He was a third string catcher, played for about 15 years and coached for a few years. Moe Berg spoke 11 languages fluently, including Russian and Japanese. He had a law degree. He graduated from Princeton, got a law degree from Columbia, and he became a spy in the predecessor to the CIA, the OSS. Moe Berg became a spy, and he headed over to Japan with a team of all-stars. And while he was over there, he was assigned a mission to take photographs of the Tokyo skyline, which he did, and those photographs were instrumental in the Doolittle bombing raids. Now, I had been told by my aunt when she first heard this song that my great-uncle knew Moe Berg, but she didn't know how. Well, my great-uncle worked on the Manhattan Project. He disappeared for a couple of years. Nobody knew where he was, but he was out in Los Alamos, New Mexico. And somehow he must have known Moe Berg very well, because on Moe Berg's original application for employment with the OSS, my great-uncle Milton Kahn was listed as one of 3 or 4 personal references. So that's pretty cool. I was given this by the former curator to the CIA Museum. Yes, they have a museum. You and I, unless you are a CIA officer, employee, or a retired one, we cannot go to the CIA Museum. It's only for CIA employees. But Moe Berg's baseball card hangs prominently on display in the CIA Museum. And I was invited once to sing this song at a presentation where Moe Berg was inducted into the Jewish American Hall of Fame. And the curator, the former curator to the CIA Museum, was there and showed Moe's application on a big overhead projector. And that's when I learned that my great-uncle was a reference, and she was kind enough to Xerox the application for me and send it to me. This is called Moe Berg the Song.
Moe Berg the catcher, good field and no hit. Somehow he lasted 19 years till his knees made him quit. Never really played much, but never really cared. He was happy just to hang around with a uniform to wear. Moe Berg, Princeton graduate, went on to study law. Got his degree from Columbia, all the while playing ball. The Dodgers came a-calling. They were trying to sign a Jew that would help them sell some tickets in the Bronx and Yonkers too. Moe Berg, the professor of the bullpen, joked with pitchers, reading them the newspapers that he used to have delivered. He'd speak to them in Russian, Japanese, or French. He was the greatest scholar that ever rode the bench. And the Babe, they went over to Japan with a team of touring all-stars giving clinics for the fans. This was back in the 30s as the world prepared for war. Moe took a lot of pictures, but nobody knew what for. Moe Berg, the secret agent, he never even told his mom of his mission to determine if the Germans had the bomb. He learned to speak good physics without hardly a lisp. He infiltrated lectures with the top German scientists. Moe Berg, the walking riddle, he put his fingers to his lips. If you recognized him on the street, he'd nod and whisper, shh. He kept a lot of secrets that no one will ever know. He knew lots of people nobody ever really knew Mo. Moberg the beloved, he had the gift of gab. He was a moocher, a celebrity who never paid the tab. He could get in at the ballpark on his lifetime player's pass and then eat up in the press box. Someone always filled his glass. Moberg's son of an immigrant brought his father shame. All that education, but then he plays a child's game. Mo made it to the majors, his dad would never go see him. Mo's baseball card is on display at the CIA Museum. Long after he retired, there was still Moberg the myth. And he rode into the sunset, sadly hanging on to it. Appearing on a game show as the mystery guest. Some say disappearing might be what Moberg did best.
If you would like to consider becoming my patron, you can do that by checking out this link here. If you're not familiar with patreon.com, it's a fantastic platform where people can support their favorite artists on a monthly basis. And for that, you get access to things that I don't share otherwise. Rough drafts to new songs, early recordings. In fact, just last week or 2 weeks ago, I was in the recording studio and I posted a recording of a song that I did that day to my patrons. I have Zoom hangouts and little private concerts for my Zoom members, question and answer sessions. So if that's something you might consider, I'd greatly appreciate it because it gives me a certain amount of income every month that I can count on. But really and truly, what I hope you'll do is tip something for today's performance if you appreciate it. Thank you. There's a folk festival in Texas that by now I'm sure you're familiar with, if you've ever heard me sing before. The Kerrville Folk Festival is a place that's very dear to me. I've been going every year since 1992, with 3 exceptions now, unfortunately. But about 25 years ago, or 26 years ago this spring, I had just moved to Asheville, North Carolina, and I drove down to Kerrville, Texas with my girlfriend at the time, a woman named Annie. And Kerrville Folk Festival is an 18-day-long festival. We stayed all 18 days. And after a week or a week and a half, we needed to replenish our supplies and head into the town 10 miles away. And on our way in, we saw a man selling peaches off the back of his truck. This is a story about that.
We stopped for peaches at a roadside stand. Man said his name was Bill. Said, I'm Chuck and Mrs. Annie. He said Annie was the one and only true love of his life. They met at his wedding, but by then he had a wife. It was during the reception in the spring of '64. She, his newlywed's best friend, followed him out the ballroom door. Maybe his ring got smaller. Maybe his fingers swelled. Maybe he made a big mistake. Maybe time would tell. The last, do you feel what I feel? And he said, I do. at a loss, wondering now, what should he do? But he did what he had to. He'd just taken a wife. She would take good care of him for the rest of her life. Bill and Annie fought the urge. They saw each other often. But she was there in black the day Bill's wife lay in her coffin. By then she'd gotten married. By then she'd moved away. She'd asked Bill for his blessings. He said it was okay. Well, Bill said, taste the peaches. And he cut us each a slice. They were a little on the small side, but they sure tasted nice. Do you think I did the right thing, Bill asked? Though I knew he knew. So I answered with a question. Asked him, Bill, do you? He said, Annie, pleased to meet you. Nice to meet you, Chuck. Annie and I, we drove away in Annie's pickup truck with a box of 20 peaches, a homegrown tomato too, and a couple of things to think about, and every now and then I do.
There's a picture of me 2 years later after writing that song, singing it to Bill the Peach Man. I would have done so the very next year, but there was a drought in Texas, and there was no peach crop, and unfortunately Bill had to find some other work that year. But 2 years later, there he was, selling peaches again, and great to get to sing it to him. So here's a song about a classical violinist and orchestra conductor who, upon arriving at Auschwitz on a cattle car, was made to audition for his life. The guards saw that he had a violin. They made him take it out right then and there, and they made him play Wagner.
The godless ones were moving east, and we were turned in by a priest. Head up with all the rest. The cattle cars from there went west. It was my precious violin. When we arrived, it saved my skin. The audition I would pass that day, Wagner I dared not misplay. My violin would save my life, as will my daughter and my wife. They'd summon me to come and play. I'd close my eyes and go halfway. They were so merry and so gay. We danced by night and killed by day. They'd give me little scraps of food. Sometimes when they were in the mood, I'd draw my bow and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs and their liqueurs, they crane their necks, strain their ears. I don't know where they found I'd escape to someplace else. My shattered mind would limp away to Warsaw in the month of May, conducting in the concert hall. I would not see the things I saw. I'd hear the woodwinds and the strings. I'd tune out all the other things. I'd draw my bow and they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs and their liqueurs, crane their necks, strain their ears. I don't know where they found the tears. Maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slip some Mahler in. Start to play at dawn until the work crews had all gone. When they returned, we'd play some more, and in between we did our chores. We weren't there to entertain people stepping off the trains. We played when we were told to play. We'd stop when they would say, go away. I'd draw my bow, they would sway. They had no orders to obey. The officers, their wives and whores, drinking their cognacs, their liqueurs, they crane their necks, strain their ears. I don't know where they found the tears. Maybe someplace back in Berlin. Sometimes I slip some Mahler. Sometimes I slip some Mahler in. Sometimes I slip some Mahler in.
I'll tell you about something else here. If you're interested in coming with me either to Ireland or to Scotland, I've got some fresh tours for July of 2022, going to Ireland. And I've got a couple of April tours going to Scotland, although one of them is sold out. You can be on the waiting list for that one, or you can sign up for the other one. There's also a tour in September 2022 to Scotland. And so if you're interested in looking further into these tours, just go to chuckbrodsky.com and look up on the top menu. You'll see a listing for Ireland, Scotland tours. If you're like me, I'm sure you can't wait to actually get out of the house and go somewhere. I'm going out of the house tomorrow to the recording studio, and I'm going to record this song. It goes like this.
The things you think you know, they aren't really so, but you insist they're true. A lot of people do, but it would shock you if you knew. You'd be angry too. That takes letting go. The things you think you know. The things you think you know, you believe them even though they can be disproved, but you're not even moved. It's not like you believe, you can't even conceive of that first domino. The things you think you know. Well, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do, you go on and blow till you're good and blue. I'll tell you, even though there's no convincing you, but that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. that's what you don't know, the things you think you do. The things you think you know were like that long ago, but not so much today. You really have to go back a ways until there wasn't any gray, and you only had to hope and pray, maintain the status quo. The things you think you know. The things you think you know. Excuse me, but hello? Who's telling you these things? And who's pulling the strings? But who knows more than you? None of the experts do. Anyway, there you go. The things you think you know. Well, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. You go on and blow till you're good and blue. I tell you, even though there's no convincing you, but that's what you don't know. The things you think you do, yeah, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. The things you think you know, that warm and cozy glow, it's mostly good for show. It gives you comfort though. You keep stoking the fire, you won't let it go higher, you won't let it lie low. The things you think you know. Well, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. You go on and blow till you're good and blue. I tell you, even though there's no convincing you. Well, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. Yeah, that's what you don't know. The things you think you do. That's what you don't know. The things you think you do. That's what you don't know. The things you think you do.
Guess what time it is? It's time for Puck View. This week's featured puck is from the 2001 National Hockey League All-Star Game held in Denver, Colorado. Come this spring, it'll make 26 years that I've lived in North Carolina, in Asheville. And the place that I lived in before I bought this house 15 years ago had quite the road. I want to show you some pictures here. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. It's a dirt road. This is heading down from my place. You had to go down this very, very steep dirt road. And then you'd get to the bottom of it. Oops, why is that not working? And there'd be this very sharp curve down there. And then you would pass lovely dwellings such as this one until you came to this house. Now, there were only 5 or 6 houses on this dirt road, and so these signs were aimed clearly at this fella's neighbors. Here's a beautiful one. Let's see. And finally, you'd come to the last house in the paved road. So I used to have the occasional house guest. And this was, I lived there before the GPS really had come into play. And so occasionally I'd need to give people directions how to find me. And so I wrote this song to make it easy for them.
when you get off of the interstate. When you get off of the interstate, when you get to the end of the ramp, make a left and go basically straight. You've got to go several miles. You've got to go several miles. Might make you wonder after a while, but you've got to go several miles. Then you will go over the gap. Then you will go over the gap. You might not find it on just any old map, but you've got to go over the gap. There'll be a field of corn. There'll be a field of corn. It's at the end of that field of corn, and that is if the weather is warm. Now it's just past the third dead cat. Just past the third dead cat. Just past the one that's especially flat. Just past the third dead cat. Now turn right on the gravel road. Turn right on the gravel road. As soon as you see it, you're just gonna know it. Turn right on the gravel road. And if you get to the church, turn back. If you get to the church, turn back. Do a U-turn if you get to the church, the one with the historical plaque. And now that gravel road's gonna split. That gravel road's gonna split. Keep left where the gravel road splits, so you don't go off in the ditch. And now go up and around the red shack. Go up and around the red shack. Take a look at what they got out back as you go up and around the red shack. Drive right through the pack of hounds. Drive right through the pack of hounds. They'll all get up from their lying down to play chicken with you, so don't go around. Brace yourself for the hill. Brace yourself for the hill. Take a deep breath. Summon your will. Brace yourself for the hill. Go all the way to the top. Go all the way to the top. Don't forget to breathe and put down your pop. And whatever you do, don't stop. You'll find the key on the ledge. You'll find the key on the ledge. There's wood on the porch, beer in the fridge. You'll find the key on the ledge. And it's just past the third dead cat. Just past the third dead cat. The one that looks like a welcome mat. Just past the third dead cat.
Come and see me sometime. So I have two more songs for you today. This next one is a song I wrote for the folks that I used to pick apples with up in Wenatchee, Washington. I did a lot of fruit picking when I was younger, about 5 different years worth. And Wenatchee, Washington is all the way on the eastern part of the state, as you can see. And it's kind of right in the heart of apple growing country. Show you some other pictures here. This is an apple ladder, and you'll notice that on one side of it, it only has a pole. And this is especially useful on hilly orchards, where you wouldn't really be able to set that ladder properly if it had normal legs on the other side. So that one pole, you throw it over some limbs and let it come down to the ground on the other side, but you can maneuver it, and it goes in and out, swivels side to side, and that's what we used to pick on. There's a happy apple picker picking away. But occasionally, those apple pickers would have a ladder splat. It was not all that uncommon. Then you'd work with these canvas sacks over your shoulders, fill them up, and go dump them in the bin. Now, you got paid by the bin. So my best, I think, was 9 bins in a day. But some of these guys that I picked with could pick 15, 16 bins in a day. They were all illegals from Mexico, and they all they were all working, picking apples because their lives depended on it. I was a young 20-something kid, and my situation was not exactly the same as theirs. They all had to worry about the immigration police that would try to come and catch them. They were all illegals from Mexico, and if the immigration police, which is called La Migra in Spanish, made an appearance at the orchard, whoever saw them first would whistle, and everybody then would jump off of their ladders, drop their fruit sacks to the ground, and go running into the trees and disappear. And La Migra wouldn't be able to find anybody, and they'd give up, they'd leave. I'd be left all alone picking on my ladder. They'd ask me where everybody went. I would say, they'd leave. If they managed to catch anybody, they would hold them in town until there were enough people to fill a bus and send that bus down to Mexico and drop them off on the other side of the border. And within a week from that point, they'd be back up in Wenatchee, back at the orchard, back on the job. This is called La Migra Viene. It means the immigration police are coming. The other Spanish word is Andale, and that means run.
Mornings were chilly, yeah, it was crisp as a striped or red with golden delicious Kaboom tortillas, coffee with rum. By the time the sun came up, would have half have been done. Trees were like temples, was a holiness to them. Picked out the bottoms and then all the way through. Up on a ladder, out on a limb. Trees were like temples and I love being in them. A day he could do. I got 9 once, that was with big fruit. Only worked as hard as I needed to. Sometimes though, on the nicest of days, somebody would whistle and my friends would run away. They were yelling, La Migra, La Migra, La Migra Viene. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that La Migra was coming. My Spanish was stiff, a little too formal. I cracked them up, they taught me to cuss. Even better was cussing when they all went a-running. Even better was cussing in the big yellow bus. Brought him in till the bus was loaded. Sometimes whole families, well, at least you'd have thought, they'd be back the next week up on their ladders, giving new names the next time they got caught. Sometimes though, on the nicest of days, somebody would whistle and my friends would run away. They were yelling, La Migra, La Migra, La Migra Viene. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that La Migra was coming. La Migra, La Migra, La Migra Viene. Andale, andale, run, run. Oh, they leapt from the ladders to the next nearest orchards, spreading the word that La Migra was coming.
It's time for my magic trick, abracadabra, presto, changeo. Or should I say presto, changeover. So thank you very much for tuning in today. If you have enjoyed listening to me, if you enjoy me and my music, I really hope that you'll put something into the tip jar today. Like I mentioned earlier, only 6 out of 750 viewers last week put anything at all into the tip jar, and I can't sustain myself that way, so I need you. I want to sing this song for my parents and for all the angels out there.
Well, I hope I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. That's my ride that just pulled over, and it sure was good to know you. So go answer your calling, go and fill somebody's cup. If you see an angel falling, won't you stop and help them up? We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. Sometimes you'll stumble, sometimes you'll just lie down, sometimes you'll get lonely with all these people around. You might shiver when the wind blows, and you might get blown away. You might lose a little color, you might lose a little faith, but we are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. Keep each other going, we show each other signs. So thank you for the water. Thought I was gonna die out here in the desert, but you quenched my thirst. Let's break a little bread together. I've got a little manna. It was a gift from someone who was passing by and offered me a lift. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. Keep each other going, and we show each other signs.
Stay well, stay safe. Hope to see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.